Yeah guys, this is GoldenZen. I would like to welcome you to my studio today with a video review about some of the finest instruments that I've encountered so far, because those instruments really changed my life. And in a little video series that contains 5 videos, I would like to give you a little more a detailed view on those products from sample modeling, because they're really a quantum leap when it comes to digital instruments. I'm a composer for about 11 or 12 years now, so that's the time I've been composing, and so I've seen it I've seen it from a very early start. It was around 2000 where I actually started to compose. That was the time when we had the technology of MIDI, so the best sound you could get was the MIDI sounds, which a lot of you remember were somehow sound like the music on the Nintendo 64, which was not very great. You didn't have any dynamics, or just very few dynamics. The sounds were very limited. And then throughout the years, I remember around 2003, 4, 5, 6, around there, I remember when I bought my first big libraries with really good sounds. But the problem was that you were working with sounds that have been recorded. Like if we take a trumpet, there was one note of a trumpet that was recorded, and then it was just pitched all the way up and all the way down, which sounded very unrealistic, because theoretically you could have played a trumpet so low that it would have been like a tuba sound actually, and you could play it so high no trumpet player ever could play it. And that was one thing that made it sound unrealistic, and you didn't have a lot you could tweak. You had the possibility to add a lot of hall and reverb and fancy stuff, and you could take certain samples with certain phrases and notes that allowed you to do certain things, but it was not yet what you wanted to have. And then as time evolved, some new stuff came out. There were a lot of great libraries. Some cost more, some cost less, of course. But you were always very limited, especially when it comes to woodwind and brass instruments, because basically it was always very limited. You could get a good sound to a certain extent, but you couldn't do the last step that I was looking for in years. And another thing was that you could listen to examples and samples and little stuff online, and you could hear a prepared piece for brass, and you was like, wow, that's amazing, I have to buy that. You could still tell that it was computer generated sounds, but it sounded good. But it was programmed by professionals, and was something almost impossible to achieve by yourself if you didn't have a lot of knowledge about the technology and about how to tweak and how to work with those sounds. Anyway, so if you are a mock-up artist or a mock-up composer like I am most of the time, you always have to think in technical limitations. So that means, for example, when you have an idea for a song and you know a certain trumpet line that you would like to incorporate, and maybe you know from the very start it's not going to work. Maybe you will find a way to make it work, but you always have a lot of limitations, which is, over the years it got very, at the beginning you were just glad to have, like natural sounds, not MIDI sounds, but then over the years you wanted to achieve better effects, and you wanted to have better sounding instruments, and you just couldn't get it. You could invest a lot of money in good libraries, you could get out a decent sound, but it was still not what you really wanted to do. And so you either had to figure out a way. For example, if with a trumpet it didn't sound real, for example, you had to replace it by strings or flutes or anything. And so it was always about technical limitations. The reason why I tell you that is because about a month ago, or maybe 2 months, I started with the idea for a 60s spy lounge jazz agent kind of music album. And when I started, I was aware of the fact that when you're talking about 60s music, there's a lot of jazz, rhythm, blues and all that stuff, instruments like flutes, saxophones, trombones, trumpets. And before I didn't know sample modeling sounds, it was just, I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to trick my way through the best way possible. I'm not going to get the result that I want, but you know, I have to make amends, and so. And then I was researching on the internet a little bit, and I found that producers, sample modeling, and like with any other library, I was checking out, you know, the demo section, and I watched some reviews on the internet and YouTube, and I felt from the very beginning that this is a special product we're dealing with, because the sounds sounded very good out of the box, and not only in the context of a song they sounded good, but also on their own, which is a pretty tricky thing to do. And so I got myself a few examples. I got myself the trumpets, saxophones and flutes, and later on I got myself the trombones and tuba, French horns. And the first thing that I've got, I had to think about money, because I don't have a lot of money, and so I thought, okay, at least I need good trumpet sounds and good flute sounds. And I downloaded it, and the very cool thing was, from the very beginning, everything worked. You could install it, you had all the manuals, how to install it, and it worked right away. You could load it in there, and no problem at all. And also with the breath controller from Tech Control, which is very cool. I have some other videos on my channel about using that thing. Everything lately was just pure. Now it was not lock. It's well done material, and it's well done software that we're dealing with. The reason why I tell you all that is because of the story. Because like I said, I've been a composer for 11-12 years, and when we're talking about Spy Lounge, which I just did, you know, I bought so many libraries. I was like, okay, it sounds promising, it sounds good, but let's give it a try first, because before I'm just going to scream like a girl, basically. And so, you know, I downloaded the sounds, I installed them, and I loaded them up, started to play, and it was just breathtaking. And I said, finally, now I am on track for Spy Lounge, as well as the other projects. And in the future videos, I want to show you details of the single instruments, why they are so great, why they work so amazingly, and why they are really a quantum leap. You know, I was referring to the missing last step towards really realistic instruments, which I'm absolutely convinced sample modeling did. They took this last step. And in the next video, in the upcoming videos, I want to show you why and exactly how they work. So I hope I see you later.